I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Monday, July the 21st, 2014. Israel suffered heavy casualties this weekend in fighting with Hamas in Gaza. In total, 17 IDF soldiers were killed in fighting in Gaza this weekend, bringing the total number of IDF casualties in Operation Protective Edge to 18. Approximately 100 IDF soldiers are currently hospitalized with injuries. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expressed his deep condolences to the families of the fallen. He said, "We bow our heads to our fallen sons who died so we could continue living in our country," telling the families there isn't a war more just war than that in which your sons bravely died in. The Prime Minister promised to, quote, complete the task to restore calm to the south, central Israel, and the rest of the country. The IDF so far has destroyed thousands of rocket launchers as well as identifying tens of terror tunnels leading from Gaza into Israel, intended to be used to carry out terror attacks and/or kidnappings. Just this morning, 2 terrorist cells entered Israel from northern Gaza through such a tunnel. They were identified by IDF lookouts and taken out. This afternoon, the IDF published visuals showing rocket launchers in Gaza that have been placed at a number of civilian sites like playgrounds, schools, and hospitals. And heavy rocket fire continued in Israel today with over 80 rockets fired into central and southern Israel from Gaza today. Rockets were fired into Israel yesterday as well when Hamas broke a humanitarian truce put into place to allow for relief aid to reach Gaza residents about a half hour before that ceasefire was to end. U.S. President Barack Obama spoke over the phone yesterday with Prime Minister Netanyahu to talk about the situation in Gaza. The White House released a statement on the call saying the president discussed Israel's ongoing military operation with Netanyahu and repeated U.S. support for Israel's right to defend itself and condemnation of attacks by Hamas against Israel. The president also expressed his concern over the growing casualties in the conflict, including increasing Palestinian civilians and Israeli soldiers. Obama also told Netanyahu that U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry would travel to Cairo to try and work towards a ceasefire agreement. And despite the crisis in Israel, Nefesh B'Nefesh Charter sent a flight from the U.S. full of new immigrants ready to settle in Israel. They departed to Israel today, 228 people, including 29 families and 54 singles, who left JFK Airport in New York for Ben Gurion in Tel Aviv. The flight is taking place in collaboration with the Ministry of Aliyah and Immigrant Absorption, the Jewish Agency for Israel, Keren Kayemet LiYisrael, and JNF USA. The new immigrants, or Olim, were prepared by the Ministry of Absorption as to the security situation in Israel, like what to do when a code red siren is heard. Several anti-Israel rallies were reported this weekend. In Paris, 38 people were arrested and 14 French police officers were wounded at a rally protesting Israel's actions in Gaza and supporting Hamas. Approximately 3,000 protesters took part in that rally on Saturday, despite a city-issued ban. And on Sunday, a smaller anti-Israel group gathered and a firebomb was reportedly thrown at a synagogue. In London, approximately 10,000 people attended a protest rally that included calls to destroy Israel. And here in the U.S., the Chicago Tribune reports that several vehicles on the city's northwest side were targeted with anti-Israel Jewish leaflets which made threats to Jews in connection with the conflict in Gaza. They were found on the windshields of about 6 cars on Saturday. The Chicago PD's hate crime unit was notified and an investigation is underway. Meanwhile, in New York City yesterday afternoon, people gathered to show their support for Israel. CBS New York reported that about 1,000 Jewish New Yorkers gathered in Times Square yesterday to show their solidarity for Israel and its action in Gaza. And looking at some other news, a Jewish woman and her daughter were killed this weekend in Ukraine. The 57-year-old woman and her 31-year-old daughter, said to be active members of the Jewish community there, were out running an errand when they were killed in an explosion in the embattled city of Lugansk. The Chabad emissary in the city was reportedly trying to bring the two to Israel for burial. Rabbi Steve Guto, president of the Jewish Council for Public Affairs, has been named board chair of the National Religious Partnership for the Environment, or NRPE. Guto, who is also co-chair of the Coalition on the Environment and Jewish Life, has been serving as vice chair of the organization, which was founded by senior U.S. religious leaders from the Catholic, mainline Protestant, Jewish, and evangelical communities in 1993, with, quote, a mission to encourage people of faith to weave values and programs of care for God's creation throughout the entire fabric of religious life. And turning now to our Shalom TV programming for Monday, July the 21st. At 7 tonight, the opening session of the American Jewish Committee's Global Forum 2014, with speakers including former Chief Rabbi of Great Britain, Lord Jonathan Sacks, and U.S. Senator John McCain. Followed at 8 o'clock by a session at the Forum on Muslim-Jewish relations. That's coming up tonight here on Shalom TV and ShalomTV.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Monday, July the 21st, 2014. I'm Teisha Bader.